Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we are diving into a technology that absolutely changed the game for web development, Node.js. Seriously, if you've ever wondered how JavaScript, the language of websites, somehow escaped the browser to power these huge server-side applications, well, you are in exactly the right place. Let's jump in.
So let's kick things off with a simple but really powerful question. What if you could use just one programming language to build everything? I'm talking about the entire web application, the buttons you click on the front end, and all the complex heavy lifting that happens on the back end. For a long time, that was kind of the holy grail for developers, and it perfectly sets the stage for what Node.js is all about.
That dream of using just one language? Well, it takes us right to our first big idea, JavaScript literally escaping the browser. To really get what makes Node.js so special, we first have to understand the world it was born into. A world where JavaScript was, let's just say, kept on a very, very short leash.
Yeah, for most of its life, JavaScript's entire world was the web browser. It was awesome at making things pop up, creating animations, making websites feel alive and interactive, but that's where it stopped. If you wanted to build the server, the engine that talks to the database, or handles user logins, you had to use a totally different language, maybe Java or Python or PHP. And so you had this huge divide in the development world. You were either a front-end dev or a back-end dev.
And then Node.js showed up. The key phrase to understand here is runtime environment. Just think of it like a special world, a container that lets JavaScript run on any computer or any server, completely free from the browser. It's actually built on Google's V8 engine, which is the same super-fast engine that powers the Chrome browser. And just like that, the walls came down. JavaScript wasn't just for making pretty websites anymore. It can now run the whole show.
So JavaScript was free. But what made it so good on the server? I mean, why did it get so popular, so fast? The secret isn't just that it could run on the server, but how it runs. And that brings us to its crazy efficient architecture, something we can call the one-thread revolution. Okay, this is where it gets really cool. Look at the contrast here. On the left, you've got your traditional server. Think of it like a call center, where every single caller gets their own operator. If that operator needs to go look something up, the caller is just stuck on hold, tying up that entire line. That's a blocking thread. Now look at Node.js on the right. It uses just one main thread, one operator for everybody. Sounds insane, right? But here's the magic trick. It never, ever waits.
And this quote just nails the concept. A traditional server is like a waiter who takes your order, walks it to the kitchen, and then just stands there, staring at the chefs, waiting for your food to be ready before they do anything else. It's incredibly inefficient. A Node.js server, on the other hand, is that super efficient waiter. They take your order, hand it to the kitchen, and then bam, they're off to another table to take their order, or refill some drinks, or bring someone a check. It's always doing something useful.
The official, fancy term for our super waiter is non-blocking I/O. The I/O just stands for input-output. Basically, any task that involves waiting for something slow, like reading a file or getting data from a database. And those are the real bottlenecks. Instead of just sitting there and waiting, Node kicks off the task and immediately moves on. When the task is finally done, it gets a little notification, like a buzzer going off at a restaurant, and then it deals with the result. That simple idea is the secret to its incredible speed.
So how in the world does Node juggle all of this without getting totally confused? Well, it uses this brilliant little machine called the event loop. Think of it as an air traffic controller. When a new request comes in, it lands on the call stack. That's the main runway. If it's a slow task, Node immediately says, nope, you're too slow for the main runway, and offloads it to the background. This keeps the main runway clear. Now, the event loop is just constantly circling, looking for two things: new planes trying to land and notifications from the background that a slow task is finished. When a task finishes, its instructions for what to do next, we call that a callback, gets put in a waiting line. And as soon as that main runway is clear, the event loop grabs the next finished task from the line and lets it land. It's a cycle that never stops, and it makes sure that main thread is always busy.
This whole non-blocking thing is ridiculously powerful, but it completely flips the script on how developers have to think. You can't just write code from top to bottom anymore, assuming each step happens right after the other. You have to learn how to program without the wait. And in the early days of Node, trying to manage all these tasks that would finish at some random time in the future, well, it led to something developers not so lovingly called callback hell. You'd end up with a function inside another function inside another function, creating this horrible sideways pyramid of code that was an absolute nightmare to read and an even bigger nightmare to fix when something went wrong. Obviously, that couldn't last. The community needed a better way, and the first hero to show up was something called promises. A promise is exactly what it sounds like. It's an object that's a placeholder, a promise that a value will exist in the future. This allowed developers to break out of that pyramid and start chaining actions together in a much cleaner, more logical way.
But the real game changer, the thing that everyone uses today, is async/await. It's basically a beautiful new syntax that's built on top of promises. It lets you write that asynchronous, non-blocking code, but it looks and feels just like simple, clean, step-by-step code. You just use the little await keyword to tell a function, hey, just pause right here until this slow thing is done. But it only pauses that one little function, not the entire application. It is truly the best of both worlds. You get that beautiful, easy-to-read code with all of the incredible performance of non-blocking I/O.
Okay, so we've got a powerful, non-blocking engine and a really clean way to write code for it. But how do you actually build a big application? You can't just throw everything into one giant file, right? And that brings us to Node's powerful system of building blocks, modules.
So at its heart, Node is all about breaking things into small, reusable pieces called modules. First, you have core modules. These are the tools that are built right into Node, things like HTTP for creating a server or FS for working with files. No installation needed. Then you have the absolutely massive world of third-party modules. These are tools built by the community for pretty much anything you can imagine, like the super popular web framework Express. And of course, you break your own code up into custom modules to keep everything clean and organized.
So where do you get all these amazing third-party modules? You get them from NPM, the Node Package Manager. You can think of it as the world's biggest open-source software library. It's like a giant free hardware store for developers. With just one simple command, a developer can pull in a package to do almost anything, talk to a database, handle security, you name it. NPM is truly the backbone of the entire Node ecosystem.
All right, let's put it all together. We have all this speed, all this efficiency, all these modules. What is this stuff actually used for in the real world? Let's take a look at how Node is powering the modern web.
Because Node's single thread never gets stuck waiting, it's absolutely fantastic at handling thousands of connections at the same time. This makes it perfect for things that have to happen in real time, like chat applications, where you can't have any lag. It's also great for data streaming platforms like Netflix, which are constantly pushing data to you. And it's become the #1 choice for building APIs. Those are the bridges that let our phone apps talk to servers. And it's a cornerstone of modern microservices, where its small size makes it super efficient.
So when you boil it all down, it comes back to this. That non-blocking architecture gives it amazing speed and scalability, meaning it can grow to handle tons of users. And because it doesn't have to create a new memory-hogging thread for every single user, its resource use is incredibly low. As you can see, it scores super high on speed and scalability while being really low on resource use. That means you can build bigger, faster apps with less server hardware.
And that brings us to our final thought for today. For a huge chunk of the modern web, especially for applications that need to be fast, that need to scale, and that need to handle tons of users at once, Node.js has become an absolute powerhouse. So I'll leave you with this question to chew on. With its unique design built specifically for the demands of our modern internet, is Node.js becoming the default choice for the future of the web? Thanks so much for joining me.